Well, good morning, guys. This feels like a very long time. This coronavirus is slowly starting to get people down. I know it's getting a bit frustrating right now, but I want to show you something. I'm a small business owner and I'm facing some financial dire straits, as I'm sure every other small business owner in the country, in the world, is right now. I know that Congress is fighting to get something together. I know we're all struggling. I know there's what appears to be a massive, well, doesn't appear, there is a massive downturn in the economy looming, coming towards us, and small business owners are front line of this massive hit that's coming. And I want to encourage you guys. I want to encourage everybody this morning. Hey, I get it. I'm there. I'm right there with you. I don't have any extramural income coming in that is not affected by this particular financial crisis that is looming. But let's go and have a look at what the scripture says in the book of Genesis, chapter 12. Now, in my opinion, every good preacher should preach out of Genesis at least once a week. Come on now. Genesis is a fantastic book. Obviously, it's one of the first books. It is the first book in the Torah. It's the first book in the Bible. And to me, it is the most important book. Obviously, I'm tongue-in-cheek. It's a good book. I love it. So in Genesis chapter 12, verse 10, there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to dwell there, for the famine was severe in the land. Understand, Abram's not Abraham. This is not where he has the covenant with God. He's righteous. This is Abraham, before God's even changed his name. Okay? And there's a famine in the land. The famine is very, very severe. We're going in a famine right now. Now, when you're going through the valley of the shadow of death, please do not stop to ask why. When you're walking through hell, do not stop. Just carry on walking. Try to ride through. Keep your head up. Keep focused on Christ and just keep on walking. Now is not the time to ask why. In the midst of this coronavirus epidemic, pandemic mess, now is not the time to ask why are we going through this. Now is not to point fingers. Now is just to keep on trudging, get through it. And once we're through it and we're climbing the mountain and we're at the high, we can have a look. I was looking at a chart yesterday, a 1929 stock market crash, and within 5 years the market had gone up 350%. 350. The stock market had gone up 350% of 5 years after 1929. That is one heck of a large growth. That's a mountaintop, amen. Now, to get there, you have to go through hell. You can't camp out in hell. You cannot feel sorry for yourself. You cannot have pity. You've got to just keep on doing whatever you're doing and get through it. Don't stop in hell. Now, remember, the people that got in 1929, they went through the Great Depression. They were forever changed. Some people came out of that rather well off. Some people came out of that just miserable and never ever got back on their feet. You can get better, okay? You can do better. We know history. You've got history. Check it out. See, read what the Rockefellers and the Hughes guy, Howard Hughes type people. Read what the Rockefeller type people. Read what those multi-billionaires did during the recession and how they got through it. We can too. We've just got to look at what history says and how to get through it. Now look here in the Bible. There's a famine. In Genesis 12, verse 10, there's a famine. It's severe. It is so bad that Abram goes down to Egypt to dwell. He goes to the place of captivity in those days to dwell because the famine's so bad. Hey, people, we can get through this too. Come on now. We can get through this. Just look at history. And look what happens in chapter 13. Abram went up from Egypt, he and his wife, and all he had, and Lot with him, to the south. Abraham was very, come on, somebody say Very, very rich in livestock, in silver, in gold. He wasn't just rich in health and in vitality and energy. He was rich in livestock. He was rich in silver. He was rich in gold. How many of you need to be rich in silver and gold? In the midst of a famine, he leaves and he goes down there. Look at this. I love this. We go down to verse 5, to verse 4, to the place of the altar where it made, and there at first, and Abraham called the name of the Lord. Okay, so we see that Abraham had called, past tense, on the name of the Lord. So during the famine, Abraham called on the name of the Lord. Come on now. During the famine, Abraham called on the name of the Lord. And he comes out of the famine. Verse 5, Lot who went with Abram and at flocks and herds and tents and the land was not able to support them, that they might dwell together, for their possessions were so great they could not dwell together. Can you imagine Abraham in the midst of a famine and Lot could not dwell together because the land wasn't big enough for all of their possessions? How many of you need this right now? How many of you need this right now? How many of you think that this is going to be the Great Depression of 1929 and it's all over? Okay, some people came out of that Great Depression super prosperous. How? I don't know how. Go check it out. Go do the history. Go read the history. Go find out. Go look to see what they did. Let me tell you what Abraham did, because that's very important to me. Abraham called on the name of the Lord. He then did as he was told. He went down to Egypt. I'm assuming he was told to go to Egypt because he went down to Egypt. Amen. So he went down to Egypt, and he leaves Egypt rich in gold, rich in silver, rich in animals, livestock, so much so that him and Lot cannot live together because the land's too big to contain them, to sustain them. Come on now. You can come through this with too much. And what are you going to do with that too much? You're going to bless other people who did not learn from history. To be a blessing to others who did not learn from history and who are going to come through this with nothing and lack. We need to have the overflow to be a blessing for those that are not going to come through this like we are. There are a few of us, and I'm hoping you, one of them, is going to come through this super, super well off. And you have the opportunities. You've got to find them. Call upon the Lord. Find the opportunities, do as you're told, come through this well off, and praise Jesus, be in a position of abundant overflow to help others less fortunate, your neighbors, right up the road, down the road from you. Be in a position to help people in your office. If you own a business, be in a position to help your staff. Nothing is more exciting for me than when I can buy one of my staff members' tires or move them into an apartment. That's exciting. I love to be able to help people, and I can't do it without having excess overflow. Okay, I like to call it net breaking, boat sinking increase, an excess overflow. And the only way I know how to do it is to look what the Bible did and look what happens in the Bible and look what Abraham did. And he went, he called upon the Lord, and he came out there so prosperous, so much that he was in a position to help others. Praise Jesus. Help others. Let's kick this daggone pandemic to the curb. Let's come out here in a better position than we went in. Let's come out here prosperous and in a position to overflow where we can help other people and give to those less fortunate and empower others. And they can say to us, well, how did you get through that pandemic so prosperous? And you can turn and say, well, bless the Lord. I read what Abraham did and I did the same thing. I called upon the Lord and I did what I was told, and I found the opportunities that God showed me. Remember, I'm not saying God's going to rain gold diamonds on you, okay? I'm not saying that. But He is going to give you opportunities. Then you need to have the courage to do what you've been told to do. When you call upon the Lord and He answers, you've got to listen and then do what you've been told to do, and bless God, you'll come through abundant overflow. It's not just going to rain upon you, amen? You've got to call upon the Lord. You've got to find the opportunities that He shows you. You've got to look for them. It's like an Easter egg hunt. God's going to tell you, hey, go here, go there. Look for this, look for that. And then when you get it, you've got to do it. You have to do it. You have to do what you've been told to do. This is where people fall short. They start to doubt themselves, like, yeah, well, I haven't heard from God. I don't know if it's a good idea, if I should do that or not. And then they do nothing because they sit down with analysis by paralysis and they analyze why they're going through hell. They analyze what decisions to make. If you have analysis paralysis in this time, in this crisis, you will come out here worse off. The only ones that are going to come off here better off, those that have followed what Abraham did what he did, do what he does, and praise Jesus. Do not ask yourself why. When going through hell, do not encamp. Do not sit around. Do not ask questions. Just keep on going. Call upon the Lord. Get His input. Do what He tells you to do. Exactly what He tells you to do, and you will prosper. In my next message tomorrow morning, I'm going to talk about the four steps to a miracle. And there'll be 4 steps to a miracle. I'm going to look at John chapter 2. It is fascinating. And the one thing that's going to ring in your head again tomorrow, do what He tells you to do. Be blessed. Bye.